I'm going to briefly riff while I drive to my next client. We'd like to meet in person. I'm Jen Hart, by the way, and don't judge me for talking to the air. So working with people and with myself, because we're all human beings having fun experiences, is that, do you notice if you are having financial difficulties, not making the money you want, not having the love you want, or have like weird relationship dynamics with your friends, family, or significant others, or even strangers, is that, do you notice that the lack of boundaries and standards you have, that is why you continue to get the thing. So if you're wishy-washy with your boundaries and not solid and almost like confident, like say if you own your own business and you're not charging what you feel that you're worth, you're not going to get it. I mean, I know that seems simplistic, but it's partially because there's a boundary or standard inside that you haven't set. Everybody has standards and boundaries, or loose boundaries. I'll say standards because it'll make it easier. Everybody has standards that they live by. They literally like ebb and flow. Sometimes there's a range of like what you tolerate in friendship, what you tolerate in relationships. Like you might tolerate something from a stranger or a best friend versus, you know what I'm saying? Like what you tolerate or what you accept, what your standard is, might be different in every area. But the more you hold your standards, like hold your own energy around a thing or an object or money or whatever, you literally can have more. Meaning, if you have strong standards, I remember one time, and I didn't know I was doing this, but like a long time ago, I was a freelancer in graphic design. And weirdly, the company, I was like a freelance artist. And the company that hired me was an agency. And then I worked on a client. I went to the client's job. This is old school. There was not a lot of remote work back then. So I went and did like a month or two, and then the agency calls me one random day and says, so the client is looking to save money. Would you take, and at that point I was making $25 an hour. And they said, would you go down to 21? And at first I was shocked because I'm like, is it my performance? Is there something wrong with me? And then they said, no, there's nothing wrong with your performance. They just are looking to reduce their costs. And I said, let me think about it. I cried. I absolutely cried because I was like, I felt it was an insult. And it was absolutely the energy. And it was a place for me to call in what my standard was. And my standard at that point was $25 an hour, minimum. And there was a lot of self-confidence stuff in my head, but I was like, no, I have to prove to myself that I have my own back and that I can hold my own. And then I slept on it, called them back the next day. I'm like, I cannot go lower, but if they are looking to save money, I can reduce my hours. And then they went back and they're like, no, you're at the same rate and we still want you 40 hours a week. This was way back in 2012. It was a long ass time ago. I'm talking about this because if I didn't hold my standard and I would have went to $21 per hour, I would have been so resentful, not just of the agency, but of the company that I was working for, which I had a great relationship with. I still keep in touch very loosely. You know, it's always good to keep in touch with people that are nice and cool. But like, legitimately, if I had let go and been like, oh, I feel bad for the company, the youngest version of me, the baby version of me, would have been like, acquiesce, overgive, and I was done doing that. I had done that for years in companies that I stayed with for too long or took advantage. And this was, I mean, you could say the universe was testing, but honestly it was some agency that said, well, we still want to make our cut. So So I'm going to ask the person that's doing the work, me, to reduce their rate. They're already making $75, just so you're aware, in agency work, at least back then, I'm sure it's higher now, is that they're making $75, or like they're charging $75 to $130 for the same hours. Like if you're getting 25, and obviously you have to pay tax, they have to pay taxes and everything else, and liability coverage and all this other stuff. But they're making a sweet cut for not doing any work. Now, that's passive income for some. I mean, I guess it's not passive because they have to get the clients, aka the jobs that you go on, stuff like that. But that's not the point. The point is they were trying to hold their standard and to undercut me. And a different version of me would have totally allowed it because I was afraid of not having money. I was not even moving. I was almost about to move. I was dog sitting while spending time with a friend's mom, like taking care of things, and they pulled that, and I was just about to move out, like probably within a month or so, and I was like, no, I'm not accepting less. And then that translated in a lot of areas of my life, because I was a very acquiescing, people-pleasing, don't want to rock the boat, don't want to make other people uncomfortable. And it's bullshit, because the people that try to take advantage of other people, and I'm not talking about just like have their needs met, I'm talking about actually taking advantage of somebody else. They don't give two shits whether or not you're comfortable, whether or not you were disappointed. They don't. So, but holding your standard isn't actually hurting another person when it's done with integrity and an alignment in your heart. It was in an alignment for me to I'm not doing charity work. I need to pay bills. Like, it would be one thing if, like, say, one day I was just going to charge $1 million and I had nothing to back up that value, that, like, in terms of an exchange of, like, life coaching or whatever. Like, I would feel disintegrous or out of integrity if I did that. Now, I can charge a lot more than I do now, but right now what I charge feels very good, and I love the sun. It's so beautiful. But it's like, why would I lower my standard? Why would I lower my standard? To make another person happy? When it has nothing to do with, I'm working $25 an hour, and now you're going to cut me $4 an hour? So you're going to cut a whole bunch of money out of my life? And indirectly, I gave them an option to cut my hours, because essentially, if I can get done the same work, the same amount of time, I wasn't even thinking of that, though. I was like, well, if they want to, save a couple $100, then I can just work less. They won't get the product at the same time, but that's the cost, at least back then. Either way, the more you hold your standards, the more money you'll make. The more you hold your standards, the better relationships you have. As long as you're taking care of your side of the street, you cannot control another human being. You can't control how your partner or your friend or the stranger's going to react when you say, no, this is my standard. You're not going to treat me like shit. You're not going to disrespect me. Or not even that terribly. Like, if you just feel like you're not getting something from a particular relationship, whether it's the relationship with money, a relationship with your body, a relationship with people, the standard, you have to have standards. And most people, and I'm not 100% perfect, so clearly, we all work on our things every day, but the more standards you hold and the energy you hold for yourself is legitimately going to make you more money, make you happier, because you're not settling in life. You're not accepting the bare minimum. You're not resisting. Yes, the reason why people don't do it is because they're scared of this weird thing called, oh my God, will people respect my boundaries or standards? It doesn't matter. You have to. Because you can't expect somebody else to do it. Now, oddly enough, once you do it, people fall in line typically. And the ones that don't are just the ones that you probably don't want to deal with on a consistent basis because they're assholes. We're not talking about those randos, because it's so rare that somebody who loves and cares about you, or a client that might just not know, they might just not have the, like, I've had so many clients that were disrespectful, especially when I was in social work, because they're learning. It's, you can give grace at a certain point, but you set the standard. You won't treat me that way. I will walk away. I don't mind if you don't take this service that's provided by the state. Like, it doesn't hurt me. I want to see you succeed. I'm here and available. But you cannot call me fat or call me, or like lie to me, or come regularly late, like, or don't respond. Like, those things were not acceptable. That was one of my favorite jobs for coaching and counseling people in social work, because you learn real quick whether or not you have personal boundaries. And if you don't have personal boundaries, your clients, especially mentally ill ones, who will take advantage of you. And at least in social work, I could read their rap sheet to see whether or not they had a higher likelihood to do that to me. And if you are, I'm going to be extra mindful of how I operate, because I cannot control that. It's impossible to control another human being. People do it all the time. It frustrates the hell out of me, because just hold your own standard. If you hold your own standard, you hold your own boundary. Oh, and there's traffic. There's construction. Anyway, I'm in New Jersey now. Woo, that was fast. If you hold your own standard, and it's practice, and sometimes you don't know what to say. Like, challenging times, like, it's easy to say when somebody's being abusive, you walk away. It's harder to do when, like, the person doesn't listen, or you have a very small vocabulary because you haven't experienced it before, how to navigate holding your own standard, or how to communicate. Because you don't actually have to communicate your standard. I mean, in a work relationship, when there's a negotiation of pay, obviously there is that, but if you hold your own confidence, you can walk in any room. The best thing about when I was in social work is that literally I had an open door to every location that I had clients working. Oh no. Well, you know, you live with excitement. I'm going to try to pull over. Good day, Bahama. Well, that was exciting. Distraction, but important distraction. Move your shape. I was talking about clients. I was talking about personal. Oh, holding your own standard. It takes practice. Sometimes you don't actually know how to communicate. I had to teach a lot of people. I still do in life coaching, because it's not always easy to know. It's not always easy to say, well, how do I hold my own energy if I've never practiced it? And funny enough, you probably have in an area that you feel completely confident in. Oh, the energy that you hold is like legitimately, no one can F with you when you know who you are. We're kind of talking about that the other day on a short or a reel or whatever. It's, you know, those people, they can't be messed with. And it's not just not messed with in one area. Maybe they're much more flexible in another area. But like, if they're really good at their job, they don't have any, and this is the hard part about working with women and men. So this is generalizations. These are, you know, not absolutes, but like when I was working in job development, and women would feel like they have everything on the required list to apply for a job. like 80 to 90% of the things they felt like, oh my God, I have to have all these things or else I won't get hired. Men, 20%. They see, oh, I could do that and that. I'll learn the other stuff. They don't care. They don't care that they're not qualified. They will apply. And sometimes they get it. And it's only infuriating, not because, I care whether or not a guy gets a job, but I care that women, more specifically, or people who just don't have a lot of confidence, could be men too, because I've had clients like that. It's like, legitimately, you feel you're building all this stuff of criteria that I'm not enough. Well, you won't know until you try, and obviously not every company is going to give you a shot. And I'm not advocating lying by any stretch of like saying that you have something that you don't, like on a resume. What I mean is, like, legitimately, it's ownership of taking up space, of ownership of, yeah, I could learn that. 99% of the things that you are afraid of, you're afraid because you're uncertain and you're unsure that you can handle the responsibility or handle the learning curve. I guarantee you can handle the learning curve. And after time, like muscle building, like any type of repetition, you build the stamina to do something, unless it's not your calling, unless it's not like something that you are actually like capable of doing. It's not like I want to put somebody who has a developmental disability in a CEO position, although I think they'd be more empathetic, to be honest. But maybe not the logistical data and all research. They might not be able to like do SE reporting and whatnot. So I'm not going to put you in that same like category. But why are you selling yourself short? Why? So these are two parts to the same coin. The holding your standard and your boundary, or like knowingness, the energy that you carry. When you hold that, you legitimately like will perform better in the world. And how do you get out of your own head? Well, that's why you hire somebody like me, or do other things that will boost and honestly, just doing the things that are hard. And I'm not talking about like, oh my God, the hardest thing on the planet. I'm talking about practicing holding your boundaries in small areas. Like if you get your nails done, tell the woman that you want something different if you absolutely need something different, or if you smudged it. I know most people won't do it because they're afraid of offending the nail lady. She's going to talk about you anyway. It doesn't really matter. And if she's good at what she does, she wants you to be happy, and she wants the service to be good. And if she's an asshole, you just don't go to her anymore. It's just not complicated, but we make things so complicated. And I know social anxiety is a thing. It's the idea that if I ask for my need to be met, or it's not even asking, it's almost like demanding, but not in a rude sort of way. It's just ownership of like, this is what I accept. It's like, this is why I won't date douchebags anymore. I don't accept it. I took it a long time. And not everybody I dated was a douchebag by any stretch, but like, I don't accept bad behavior from men anymore. It's not on my radar. It's not even attractive. It's the same with like when people tried to lowball me in my old career. At first it was shocking because I was not used to that kind of like thing. But then I was like, oh wait, I'm never going to accept less than this again. And I never did. I never accept less than $25 an hour. Now I make a shit ton more running my own business. But it's because I've accepted the fact that I know my shit. And I'm not perfect, but I can own the fact that I'm valuable, worthy of what I ask for. And you are too. I'm going to say peace out while I try to get to my client in 3 minutes, which is probably not possible. So I got to text her. Have a good day. Don't forget standards, boundaries, and what was the taking care of yourself. These are all good things to improve and make your life more positive, loving. Love your life, you know? I mean, that's what this is all about. We're supposed to have fun. supposed to be stressed all the time, and obviously the world is stressful enough. Why make it more complicated up here? Why don't we just kind of eliminate all the negative clutter so you can have the life you want? All right. You want to work with me one-on-one? I'm available. You can message me, etc. Peace.